the skin is the largest organ of the body, but people often forget that skin is an organ, and that it absorbs at least 60% of all chemicals that come in contact with us. And all those chemicals that we use with all our products every day end up in the bloodstream within 26 seconds. So if you can imagine a person using more than one product, which we all do, what a pool of chemicals we have at the end of the day. Yeah?
Yep.
And this then causes a real burden to the body, which for some people, this toxic load doesn't show up as symptoms immediately, but they sort of show up after a while. But they'll never put the dots together and think it might be coming from their products, because unless they apply something and they get a reaction to it, they're never going to say, oh, that could be my skincare or my shampoo or whatever. So some of the things that are the most common things that I talk to everyone that I see with regards to chemicals is, the first thing we look at are things called parabens, P-A-R-A-B-E-N-S.
Okay.
Now, they were in the news. They've been in the news for the last 5 or 6 years or even more, because they came to light because they were showing up in breast tissues of a lot of women who had some form of cancer or tumor. And the reason why parabens came into the limelight was because a paraben is a preservative in some products. And parabens are what we call endocrine disruptors. So what's an endocrine gland? The thyroid, that's an endocrine gland. Anything to do with your hormones. So what a paraben does is it has the same molecular structure as an estrogen molecule, estrogen, which is the hormone estrogen.
Yes.
So if you were using a product which had more than one paraben in there, the chances are that those parabens would be then sitting on the receptor of your estrogen receptor, and so then the estrogen could never get to where it's meant to go. All right, so then it causes a lot of endocrine disruption in women, especially.
Okay.
So the way that you would see that in your product is that it comes in different forms. So it will be a methyl paraben, P-A-R-A-B-E-N, or a butyl paraben, So it's the same thing, but it's got a prefix before it, a methyl, an ethyl, or butyl, depending on what part or what chemical structure it's coming from. So that is one of the most highlighted ingredients that people are aware of now. Having said that, there are a lot more ingredients that are still on the shelves that can do harm, can do damage.
Okay, so this actually kind of, highlights the problem we have, because thyroid gland issues are high, aren't they?
Yeah, there's thyroid gland issues, but lots of young women having, problems with their fertility, and it's all to do with our hormones, because if you think about it, if you have a hormone that's meant to go to a certain receptor, and that receptor is blocked because a paraben takes the same shape as an estrogen molecule, then you are blocking that pathway. And of course, then you'll have some disruption in your hormones. So yes, for sure. And because they have come into the limelight now, more and more women are aware of them, but not everyone. So that is something I would definitely bring to your attention.
So what would you recommend? What's the... I wouldn't even say alternative. I mean, it's not about alternative now, is it? These are the real things we need to do.
It's for a start. If I was picking up something off a shelf and I saw parabens in there, I wouldn't be applying that to my body. And more and more, there are more and more manufacturers who are coming out with other preservatives that you can use, which are better than a paraben, only because, they've been highlighted now with, with breast cancer, especially, where they've shown that in breast tissues of women, breast tumors, traces of parabens in every single sample that they've tested at one stage.
Okay.
So I would say that first, what I'd like to show you is some of the things that we have to be mindful of when we are looking at products, and then maybe give you some examples of what we can buy instead.
Yep, that sounds great to me.
So the second thing is, you've heard of petroleum. So
yes,
petroleum is not something we want to put on our face, but it's hidden because it's used. It's hidden because the name is not. It won't say petroleum on your product, but it'll be called all other things. Now, anything that's petroleum based is pretty much, because it's cheap, they'll use it, but it's pretty much a carcinogen, which means that it can cause cancer, and it's like plastic. It coats the skin, and it clogs up your pores, and then it interferes with your skin's ability to breathe, for instance, and get rid of toxins. So that's when people apply this sort of thing on their face day in, day out, then it promotes things like acne and dermatitis. So they start to get reactions on their skin, and they think it could be just, perhaps that it's just acne and it's coming from their diet, but it could also be coming from what they're putting on their face.
Yeah, and that's where Big Pharma cash in, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So petroleum, it comes in many different forms, and it's in a lot of products. So, for instance, I was looking at a label not long ago of a moisturizer. Well, I'll tell you what it reads. So it reads, I won't tell you the manufacturer's name, cocoa and shea butter. When you flip the ingredients list, it starts off with water. So that means this product is 90% or 80% water. So whatever you see on a label, it starts with the most ingredient to the least ingredient. So water would be the first ingredient of this. And the second thing is petrolatum or petrolatum, which is obviously comes from the word petrol, which is what we just spoke about. Yeah. And then it goes on to say there's glycerine, and then there are words you can't even pronounce, like dimethicone, cyclo something, stearic acid. Does that sound to you like chemicals, or does that sound to you like something you want to put on your face?
Chemicals, something you don't want to put on your face.
No. And so the list just goes on. Yeah. So those are the sort of things you really have to be mindful of. If you're reading a label and there are words on there that have, words you can't even pronounce, that the whole cream itself is just a big pool of chemicals that you're going to put on your face, even though it might read with lavender water, or they put the ingredients in small letters there by saying, oh, this has got geranium and lavender. But then when you actually look at the ingredients, yes, there might be a little bit of lavender and geranium which will catch your eye, and that's why you buy the product. Mm-hmm. But what is the underlying base of that product? So that's what we have to be careful of.
It seems that they use these really fancy words just to so no one will investigate.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, that's absolutely right. So there are words that they can hyphenate, and there are words that they can shorten, which you would never. So the next ingredient is something called dimethicone. Right. Now, what does that sound to you? It's a silicon. The silicon, like you have silicon. So what would that be doing in your product? A, it would trap anything beneath it, so it would not allow your skin to breathe. It's like a plastic wrap. It's actually, I would say silicone is plastic. And studies show that prolonged exposure of skin to sweat causes skin irritation. So you've got this cream on your face. It's got dimethicone in it, and it's pretty much going to cause you to have skin irritation. Okay, so that's another one that I always look out for in my products: dimethicone, parabens, anything to do with petroleum.
Yep.
And then there's one other one which is hyphenated with TEA, but the long and short of it is called triethyloamine. It's an emulsifier, and it also comes under the letters DEA or MEA. Now, this adjusts the pH of the product. So when they're making a product, they have to adjust the pH, the acid alkaline level.
Yep.
But in doing so, this TEA causes allergenic reactions, eye problems, dryness of hair and skin, toxic if absorbed by the body over a long period of time. Now, it also says here that these chemicals are restricted in Europe due to certain laws. But having said that, there are some things that still get into the products. What I mean is this DEA and TEA, you'll see it in soaps as well sometimes. So it will be hyphenated, and it's you just need to start reading your labels, because I think that's really important. And another thing that shows up a lot in products is mineral oil. Now, why would you use mineral oil? It might sound like it's something therapeutic, but it isn't. It's mineral oil, which means that it slows down your cell renewal, and in fact promotes skin aging. So petroleum, mineral oil, all that kind of stuff, you won't be putting that on your face. It's something you use on your car.
I mean, it pretty much, it's the reverse of everything that it says it's going to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes most of the stuff that's used in these products, it's cheap. And when they want to manufacture in large amounts, this sort of, this would fill up a jar very quickly. And yes, it'll be on the shelf for, say, I don't know, $30 here, which would be a cheap moisturizer. But that's not something you would want to be putting on your face day in, day out. You want to be going more for things that are plant-based. You want to be able to read a label and see avocado. And yes, if it says avocado, you've got to read and make sure it is avocado oil and it's not some avocado oil that's made in a chemical lab.
Hemp.
Hemp is brilliant because, like you say, it's from plant and it can be made into so many different things. You can have clothes made out of hemp. You can have, they make so many different things out of hemp.
Well, it's got recorded 50,000 uses.
Well, that's fantastic. That's what we want to see. Just like we're seeing a lot of things coming out from bamboo. Even you can even get lingerie and made out of bamboo. So I would gravitate more towards things like that, because that they're coming from something more natural and not made in a lab with just chemicals just mixed together. So this DEA and TEA is something we can watch out for, because they're pH balances, but they cause allergenic reactions. Eyes start watering, and like I said, most people will never think it's coming from the skincare, because they're not going to join the dots and think, oh yeah, my eyes are watering because of the skincare, unless they put it on straight away, they get a reaction.
I mean, some people, when they put after they've got their clothes on, following a wash, it being washed in fabric conditioner, but some people find they get a bit itchy.
Yeah, that's right. And so the same thing. I guess skincare and even anything you use in the house, for instance, if you're using your normal washing up soap powder, and I think now most people are awake in the fact that they are using more environmentally safe products, because all that stuff goes into the soil, into the earth, and can destroy, has been destroying the earth. So we have to be mindful that we're buying products that are kinder to the earth. And there are so many new labels that have come out which are more earth friendly, or grey water friendly. So you can always change to those things, and especially people who are very sensitive, they can't use any of those powders anymore. They have to use things that have no fragrance in them, because it's the fragrances which, again, are made out of chemicals that then irritate a person who's very sensitive skin. Like, for instance, somebody who's got eczema or somebody who's got a skin condition. If they use certain soaps that are harsh, then that's going to make the eczema worse. You can go and buy something that's much more friendlier to, and again, not just to us in terms of, toxic overload, but also safe for the earth, because everything that comes out of your washing machine is eventually going into the earth.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we start,
the recycling process.
Dishwashers. Well, we don't. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And what's breaking down quickly and what isn't. So, yeah, if we want to save the planet, we've got to start thinking now about all these things. But something that I was taught very early in my training was that what do people use, for instance, for cleaning? When you're cleaning your kitchen, there's some really simple things that you can do. If you don't want to use the GIFs and the, some of those really harsh cleaning materials.
Yeah.
For one, you should not be bringing bleach into your home. Bleach is so toxic, not only to our lungs, because we breathe that in. And look, there was a time when, before I knew about all this, I was using it too. But once I knew how harmful it can be over time, I don't bring that into the home. And again, you can use something as easy as buying a bottle of white vinegar. You can buy it for, I don't know, probably $1 or $2. And then you put that into a spray bottle, and you can start using things like essential oils, because essential oils are really therapeutic. So if you, for instance, this would be something, a tip that I would do, and this is what I do. So I use half water, half vinegar in a spray bottle, and then I'd go and get an essential oil like thyme. The thyme, the same herb that you have as a culinary herb, but you would buy this as an essential oil, or eucalyptus oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's lemon, and you would put, say, 3 drops of each essential oil into your bottle and use that as your cleaner for your whole home. Now, the reason for that is because, A, you're not going to be smelling chemicals day in, day out, which means slowly you're poisoning your lungs. This would be an easy way of keeping your kitchen bench clean, because those oils are antibacterial and antimicrobial. So, and it would be a much better way to be using no chemicals for a start in your kitchen. So even if you wipe your bench down, you're not worried that you've got, some sort of chlorine on there or some sort of bleach on there.
It's a perfect option, away from the harmful chemicals.
If you want to stay away from chemicals, there are lots of little things you can start doing, just like this. That's all I use in my kitchen. You can do the same for the bathroom. Yes, you might want to put something extra in. You might find a very a good product which doesn't have high toxicity with chemicals for the bathrooms. You can get some really good products. Here we have a company called EnviroCare, and it's exactly what they're saying. They take care of the environment, so all the ingredients are very kinder to the body and also kinder to the earth. So another thing that you can do in a dishwasher, for instance, instead of using a rinse aid, which really is just plastic coating on your plates, and yes, they smell nice, and your plates come out really clean, but every day you eat off those plates, and every day you ingest a little bit of that, which eventually will build up in the body. So what's a good way of using a rinse aid? And again, you can buy rinse aids now which don't have the plastic in them, the plastic coating in them. But another good way is to use orange and lemon peel. You can take the lemon and orange peel and just keep it to one side. And every time you run your wash, you can drop a few pieces into your basket, your cutlery basket, which again will give the give your cutlery and plates a really good smell, and it's just coming straight from a fruit. Or you can use essential oils again, like lemon and orange. 2 drops in where you put your rinse aid in with some water, or and there you have made your own rinse aid without the chemicals.
Perfect. So yeah, it just makes complete sense to do it that way as opposed to how we've been taught, you know, and
That's
how we're
right.
being taught is a very toxic way of doing these things, isn't it?
It's what we were presented with is what we've been using all this time without really probably asking any questions. But over time, when people have got ill or people have started to have reactions, is when people have started to ask, like, you know, if you've got a child in the house that is sensitive, and I did have one who was very sensitive to just anything, like even what's it called, softener. You know, when you put softener in your wash of clothes.
Yeah.
And if like I said, if you've got a child that's got dermatitis or eczema, all that's going to flare up. So you've got to really start to become mindful and make sure that you're buying products that have no fragrances in them. You know. So, and that's the next point I want to come to. So there is a big thing in skincare products and products on the shelf for other things where you'll read the word fragrance. Even in the candles that you buy in the shops, yes. Fragrance means that it's a chemical or chemicals put together to make that smell of that fruit, like watermelon or lychee or, you know, whatever. So again, you're burning a candle which has got fragrances in them. Yes, it's a soy candle, and yes, it's a really good candle, but it's got fragrances. So what does that mean? You're burning chemicals in your home that smell really good, but then that's all getting into your lungs day in, day out. So if you are going to buy things that you want a nice smell to, make sure that they're essential oils. So there's a big difference between essential oils and fragrances. Essential oils, again, come from the flowers and the plants. So if you read rose essential oil, then you know that they've used rose petals to make that oil. If you read rose fragrance on a bottle, then that is just something that smells like rose, but it's all made in a chemical lab.
Mm.
Just like when you eat chips that say barbecue flavor.
Yeah,
there's
right.
no barbecue, there's no meat or flavor in there. It's just a bunch of chemicals in a lab that's been put together to taste like a barbecue, right?
Artificial, yeah.
Exactly.
Preservatives, which is none of that's any good for us, is it, at all?
No. Preservatives keep something on the shelf. And again, preservatives in skincare are not very good for us, for the simple reason that there are preservatives that are good and they come from plant-based, and there are preservatives that come from, again, chemicals that are very cheap.
Yeah.
And yes, they will keep your product for 3 years on a shelf, but in the long run, it's not good for your body, because it's, you know, like I said, a paraben is a preservative which they used all the time until they, you know, they had studies which showed that, you know, it was appearing in this in these women. So it has now been, you know, brought to people's attention.
When I think about deodorants, yeah, and
yes,
you spray deodorant on, it literally takes your breath away. It really does.
Yeah.
Now that cannot be good for anyone.
No, can't be. And anything that's in a pressurized can. And deodorants are known to have aluminium in them. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you should be doing is is making sure that you're buying a roll-on or which does not have aluminium in there, because especially for women, because women shave their armpits, they are more susceptible to whatever they spray going straight into the bloodstream. Whereas for men, if they are, you know, they tend to have more hair than women, so at least for some of them, that doesn't go straight in. But having said that, if you are using a deodorant which has aluminium in it, and most of them do, I would opt for a much better option. Go to your health shop and look for alternatives, because there's lots out there now. There's no excuse to be using aluminium. Yeah.
Well, a good friend of mine that went travelling in Canada applied under his armpits. He used lavender. He said it was really effective. You know, he just rubbed it in, and it, you know, and he knew where it was coming from.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, the only thing with essential oils is that you have to be mindful that there are some oils you cannot put on your skin directly because they will burn you. So that's, essential oils, the study of essential oils comes from aromatherapy. So that was one of the things that I studied, which was aromatherapy. So you get to know what oils are good to put on your skin, but lavender is a very versatile oil, and it's something you should have a small bottle in your first aid kit, because it is antimicrobial. It's brilliant for cuts and bruises, but again, do not slap essential oil straight onto your skin. Always test it first to see. You might just be allergic to something, so you just want to be mindful of that, and always dilute it with another oil. So, for instance, if you've got a little bit of olive oil at home, or you've got a little bit of jojoba oil, or whatever other, it's called a medium, and then you drop the essential oil in the other oil, and then put it on your skin. So that way, if you are sensitive, you're not going to get a bit of a burn. And once again, you've got to know what oils go on your skin and what don't. So
because he was living in a commune, he didn't really have like access to products as we do daily.
No.
But I mean, he had the right idea, but you would say not put it on directly.
Well,
the lavender.
Like I said, lavender oil for most people it's not a problem. It's great on mosquito bites. So that's what I put when I get, or any insect bite, just a drop of lavender oil stops the itch. But having said that, it's something I carry with me when I travel. Why? Because, at any time, if you need to, for instance, if you're traveling and you're even in a hotel room, they say that essential oils are brilliant because you might go into a room which is really musty or old, for instance, or say the mattress is old, and for instance, if you were to use lavender oil, take a drop or two of lavender oil and just rub it into your linen, you might not get an allergenic reaction, because some people are allergic to dust mite, so lavender oil is so versatile. You can put it in a spray bottle with some water, and you can use it as a air freshener in your bathroom. How easy is that? You don't need to use those air fresheners which are so toxic, which is spray, and then you breathe in all those chemicals. I mean, some of those things are just not used anymore. No. More and more restaurants are starting to understand the power of essential oils. So you'll see, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but you walk into a restaurant and you get this beautiful smell of oranges or, rose geranium, and it's all essential oils they're burning, because they are extremely good. They also give you a good feeling because you smell the oils, and each oil does a different thing. So some are very uplifting. So it could change your mood, for instance. You walk into a store and you smell this beautiful sandalwood or orange oil. So
it's aroma, isn't it? The aroma.
Yeah, it's the aroma. Yes.
Kind of complements your aura, doesn't it? Really? I suppose the frequency thing again comes into
view. Essential oils are very uplifting. Some different ones do different things. For instance, the lemons and the limes and the oranges are very uplifting. So if you're feeling down, you would burn some orange oil, in your room or in your lounge. And again, it goes through the olfactory, through the smell, the sense, and then to the brain. And then there are some that you would burn when you're not feeling too good, like you've got a cold and you want to burn something that's going to kill all the, the bugs in the air. You might burn something like eucalyptus or thyme, So essential oils are really, really one of the things I would recommend that you burn at home, because just even as a therapeutic, it's so good for you to be burning oils at home, which are in the air, which are going to actually help you, rather than burning something that's fragrant and just chemicals. People put on a candle, but they don't even know, well, what is the smell that I'm smelling 24/7? Is it just a bunch of chemicals, or,
A lot of people use joss sticks, don't they? So what's your
yeah,
opinion of
yeah.
joss sticks?
Well,
Jasmine
they're
and
okay. Yeah, jasmine, they're okay. It just depends. There's some that are, when you smell them, you just know that they just don't smell. What's the word? Natural at all. That they've got chemicals in them.
oh
So
yeah, I
it's
see where
like,
you're coming from on that point actually. Yeah.
yeah, because I guess they look really pretty. Some of these candles look like, for Christmas. You go out shopping and you see soy candles, and the first thing I want to know is it fragranced or is it essential oils? And I would say 80% of them are all fragrance, and they look lovely, but I won't touch them. And yes, they smell nice, but I know that if I'm going to burn that for 4 or 5 hours in my home, and I'm going to be inhaling that, that's chemicals I'm inhaling. Why would I do that?
Sure.
Why don't you go and buy a candle that has got beautiful essential oils that have come from a plant, and it smells like a rose? It might smell like a geranium, and that's what you want.
Yeah. How about shampoos and conditioners, Kush?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know of an ingredient called lauryl sulfate. It was in the news, and again, it's in all our shampoos.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was in the news again because it's something it's a very harsh
Mm.
chemical, and so again, try and wean off those type of shampoos, which are your stock standard on the shelves, and try and go into something like Holland Barrett and look for something alternative which doesn't have lauryl sulfate in there. Because again, I think it was called that it was a carcinogen, or it could be cause.
I really do champion hemp products, so that's what I use.
Yeah, so
in
if
many.
you got products that are made out of hemp or made out of something more natural,
Yeah.
then that's what you want to use. You want to use a base, because everything has a base, and the product is made from a base, and then things are added to it. So it could be coconut based, it could be bamboo based, it could be hemp based. So you want to go more for that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
The other thing, which is a really old-fashioned thing that's coming back here is using, again, just buying a big bottle of like 5 liters of white vinegar, and putting that together with what's it called, bicarb soda, which you can buy. It's really cheap. So bicarb, so you put a tablespoon of bicarb, you put a little bit of vinegar in your toilet bowl, and it'll actually have a chemical reaction. It'll fizz, and that's a cleaner. That's what people used to clean with. So I had a friend who, when she was going through cancer, she had to make sure she got rid of all the chemicals in her house, and that's how she used to clean. She would just use vinegar and bicarb soda. It's that easy.
Perfect. So yeah, that's the natural route, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, to yeah.
Yeah, I think try and stay away from bleach. Just stay away from bleach, because bleach is the most toxic thing you could be breathing. People mop their floors with it. They put it on their kitchen benches, and they don't realize the fumes that come off it. And when you inhale it, if something is a carcinogen, why would you want to bring it into your home?
Yeah.
I would not. And when you start to eliminate all these things, you will become so sensitive to them. So when you do go out somewhere, and somebody has bleached the floor, you will know, because, your body's now sort of not seen or heard of it for a long time. And then you walk in somewhere and somebody's just, mopped the floor with bleach. And that's when you'll know how strong it is, when you sort of get rid of everything and go back to basics.
Because you will react to it, won't you, in a
that's right.
negative manner. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but I suppose it's kind of like it's going through the process of raising the vibration, really, isn't it?
Yes.
The whole body.
Yeah, exactly. And once you start to get rid of things that are dense, so it's
detox,
saying,
isn't it? A body detox.
Detox. That's right. It's a detox, but it's not a detox from food, but it's a detox from chemicals. So,
yes.
Like I said, once you stop using bleach and all these really harsh chemicals, you're actually detoxing your body of a big load of toxins. Because the liver, whether it comes in through a candle and you smell it, whether it's bleach that you're using every day on your counters, whether it's the aluminium that you're putting on the skin, everything has to be filtered by the liver. So what you're doing is giving your liver a really heavy duty load to filter daily. So to be kinder to your body, you would want to get rid of some of the toxic chemicals that you're using every single day. At least go and see, well, what am I using? So most people start their day with a toothpaste, which is, as you say, we've talked about fluoride, with fluoride in there.
Yes.
Then they'll put a moisturizer on, they'll put a deodorant on. Some women will use other makeup, and that might have minerals in it, or it might have certain, chemicals in there. If you wash your hair, if you dry your hair, the products they put on the hair when they're drying the hair, that's already 6 to 9 things you just put on. Then you go out into the street and you will be breathing in the air, and there will be environmental toxins that we can't control because they're just there, like fumes from your car, etc., etc. Then you might go into an office and you might have air conditioning, and there might be other things that come through the air conditioning, so you're breathing all that in. All I'm trying to show you is that that's a lot for the body to be filtering every day. Now,
absolutely,
if you are able to if your liver is up to scratch and it's doing its job properly and it's doing it optimally, then you're not putting a big load on it. But for someone who is not at that optimal level, they are going to be under a lot of pressure, and then all the organs will pass the buck on to some other organ and say, hey, you've got to help me out here. So it'll be the kidneys or the lungs, for instance, right? Because they're all organs of elimination are your skin, your lungs, your liver, and your kidneys.
Yep.
So they all help each other out. So I think we have to start becoming mindful of, well, what am I using every single day? How much am I using? And look at the labels and see, well, how many chemicals are in all these products? What can I cut down, or what other alternative can I go and get to minimize this?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've had these chemicals coming through into our systems since day dot, really, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what we're up against. It's heavy metal. It's an attack on our bodies.
It is.
Daily.
Yeah, definitely. Especially aluminium, which is not good for our brains for a start. So
no, well, that leads to the dementia and Alzheimer's, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there are some really good things out there for deodorants now. They've even got these crystal sticks that come in the form of a deodorant, and I don't know what they're made out of, some sort of salts and things.
Yeah.
So there is a lot out there that you can start with one thing. You can say, all right, today I might change my shampoo, and then next month you might say, well, okay, I'll make a change to my deodorant, and then slowly, before you know it, you've reduced 2 big toxic loads of your body.
Yeah. So what's
And I think
like
that's
a cheap option? Because obviously people are suffering a bit financially at the moment. So I wonder
cheap
what.
option
Yeah.
for what?
For making your own deodorants and
I think
all
I
sorts.
think I've seen quite a few people that have recently made these deodorants in like a jar, so it doesn't have to be a stick or a spray.
Yeah.
And I think some of them have used like a shea butter base or a cocoa butter base, so it's like a cream, but it's very soft, like coconut oil. And then they've just put essential oils in there and used it, just like you said your friend used lavender. I'm sure that most people know that in around 2018, Johnson & Johnson were ordered to pay $6.32 billion in talcum powder cancer cases. So, I mean, that's quite shocking, isn't it, to think that women that were using talcum powder all these years didn't know how damaging that was to them, because it was contributing to ovarian cancer and in the first case against a company that focused on asbestos in the powder. So that's quite shocking.
Absolutely
And,
awful.
So we must, we have to be more. I think we have to take the onus on ourselves to make sure that we are checking labels before buying anything and making sure that if we read something like heavy metals or things that just don't make sense, that they have to be in a product that you're going to put on your skin every day, would be the first port of call. And then after that, of course, if we didn't understand anything, we could always go and Google it and find out what it is.
Will it always feature on the back of the bottle or whatever the product may be?
Well, I think by law they have to, but obviously it would come in a different, it might be put in a chemical name which you might not recognize. So that's where most of these people get away with it, don't they?
Yes, and it's obviously false advertisement, isn't it?
Yes. So I mean, on here it says medical experts testified during the trial that asbestos, a known carcinogen, is intermingled with mineral talc, which is the primary ingredient in Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower-to-shower products. I mean,
it's horrific.
That's shocking. That's shocking.
Yeah.
A baby that won't have much immunity to fight anything off, So obviously that would have been removed from their products, but, it's only after people have gone to court and have suffered something as horrendous as cancer. So the alternative to the talcum powders that I have used one, they have used cornstarch and with a little bit of zinc, which is obviously good for the skin, and that way they're probably getting rid of most of the toxic chemicals in the talcum powders that used to be on the shelf.